desires, but actually I was talking of desires from the point that we have an innate desire for freedom, for wholeness, for completeness. Now, bearing that in mind, we've got part two of desires. And I think this part of desires we probably all got a PhD in. And it's fine because that's life too. Um, One thing that I wanted to say to you about that desires actually come from the four primitive foundations, and we have an innate desire for having food, sex, sleep, self-preservation, and they give rise to all other drives and wants and desires in our life. There's also, of course, a much more complicated picture that every event, remember, because as human beings we are in a world where every action of ours has gives us an experience, but also it gives us a consequence. Then that action can also activate something much more deeper within ourselves, in our samskaras. And samskaras are like deep impressions within the basement of our unconscious mind. And it triggers emotions, and those emotions are, it can trigger the emotion of ahamkara, meaning the experience of I am, and it creates separation, and it also can create other emotions of I am, so therefore whatever emotion that happens to me has to be fulfilled. Like, for example, nobody wants to be unsuccessful in their life, so they always want to be fulfilled, or the other emotions they would create is unfulfillment. But going still back to desires, I was just giving a slight taster and a teaser really, is that desire is, unfortunately, when an event happens, samskaras are activated or deep unconscious patterns are activated, then what happens to us is the deepest desire comes up and it wants fulfilling. Desire is blind. It's really important to know that desires are blind. They do not have a discernment. They cannot perceive what is right and wrong, whether this desire be fulfilled. I know it sounds like a bit strange, but it is true. But so the value is do unto others as you like done to yourself, and then follow the desire. Of course, desire attaches itself to your senses. It attaches yourself to the objects of the world, and because it doesn't have the discernment, it wants to keep on being fulfilled. However, there is something within you that is alert and awake that does have discernment. So you can distinguish between desires that will lead you to freedom and fulfillment and those desires that will lead you to more desires. And what do we know? Desire breeds desires. The issue with desires isn't that you can't enjoy life and have pleasures in your life. That's not the issue. The issue is that you can become a slave of your habitual desires, and therefore it can lead you into addictions. And what's a standard thing that's happened in my life is people who have had a lot love the alcohol. They have a desire for alcohol. They start off with one glass of wine every day, and then when the pressure gets on, it goes to 2, and then it goes to 3, and before they know it, they get addicted to it. And if they then can't fulfill that addiction, they will manipulate, they will tell lies, and your whole life goes into a mess. And so what I would say to you is that, of course, you could say desire is the very spice of life. On one level, it is. But what you have to say is this desire going to give me the upliftment and the nurture I need? And is it going to actually free me? And if it doesn't free you, after a while you will find that it makes you a slave. So you have to be careful about desires. If you can still have that amazing energy and passion for life and actually not be caught up in the trap of desires for the sake of them, but because it leads you to add to people's lives and to help them to move forwards to who they are at the greatest part, then it's a very different story and a game. So, what is the antidote? Is to recognize that your desires are separate from you as a person. That's really important to know that that separation exists, and therefore you then realize that if the desire has arisen, you could say, "Oh, one of my deep unconscious desires has arisen. However, do I really need it?" Then you say, "Okay, oh, it's my habit. I've got a habit of wanting this, but I don't really need this." So being able to separate yourself from your habits and say, "It wants, not me." And that distinction is really important because you can see that desire, you can see that habit, you can see many of different parts of your being in operation, including your energy body and your emotional body and your wisdom body, because you are a person who is the knower. So, the other antidote to this is, of course, what I would say is, if you want to desire something, be in love with freedom, be in love with the creative principle of what they call God. Um, Place all your desires on the altar that will always inspire and uplift not only you but humanity, because there is an innate desire for that freedom. If you flow with it, what you will find, you will grow in your strength, you will blossom, and but everything has to be in balance. So in life, it's not about extremes, it is about balance that gives you fulfillment, upliftment, and joy. I hope these few thoughts that I've shared have helped you. Thank you.